So, you are the most capable human being on this planet. Truly. Because you are not here, I don't know, like, you're not here by a fluke. You're not here for no reason. You are the the accumulation of generations of survival and warriors. You are a victor. That's why you're here. Every other, lineage of people that were not able to survive have died off. And now you're here, you know? Because your past generations have lived through the worst of the worst, and you are the product of that. And that's something that I feel like you should be extremely, extremely proud of. Like immensely proud of. Like you are the top. You are the pinnacle of that survival, of that evolution. You are the top. And that should be freaking crazy to you. Because once upon a time, you were just this little speck in the ocean. Way back when there was nothing. And now you're here. That is insane. And that's crazy. You know what I mean? It's overcoming, the generations of overcoming adversity. Generations of fighting and, surviving and being victorious and being a victor, you know? And that should be something people think about. I mean, you're not here for no reason. You have such a greater purpose. You know what I mean? Whatever that purpose may be, who knows what your purpose is? Everyone's purpose is different, you know what I mean? But that's something that I really feel like people need to start thinking about, because then you can start to appreciate things a little bit more. And when you can appreciate your life, you can appreciate, what you can achieve, you know, whatever it is that you want to achieve. But again, like my generation has not been taught to be grateful for what we have. You know what I mean? We're not taught that we can be victorious. We're not taught that we can achieve whatever we want to in our lives, because there's just nothing holding us back. We're not taught to be fighters. We're not taught to be, you know, victorious in our efforts. We're taught the opposite. We're taught that because of the color of our skin or where we come from, that we will never be able to achieve what the white man can achieve. That's what we're taught, I mean? Like, going into high school in 2013, like, it was not very prominent, but it was there. And then it just got more and more prominent throughout the years. And by the time I got into college, you know what I mean? Critical theory, more like critical race theory, was taught in the university I was going to, which was in the middle of the South, you know, and it was teaching these ideologies, and they're taught in all of the schools. They're taught in every public university in the United States. You know what I mean? That's why we have this whole generation that's taught to hate yourself, to hate your country, and to hate white people. And it's like really, really crazy to see, because we're not taught that we can be great. We're taught that we can never be great because of the country that we live in. We can never be great because of white people. We can never be great because of the color of our skin or where we come from. It's so degrading. It's such a degrading and such a like racist ideology. Like, it's just like so insanely racist. And I really feel like the word racist has lost every aspect of its meaning now, because apparently everything's racist. But that is at the basis of critical theory. Critical theory says that everything is racist. You know what I mean? Like, that's what the basis of it is that that racism is natural, and that you need to find the racism that lies within everything. And it's just like, well, man, like if everything's racist, then what the heck? But like that is like truly, truly is racist. You're telling black and brown people that they can't do something because of the color of their skin, because of where they come from. That is so degrading. It is so insanely degrading. But they say it in a way, the university professors, you know what I mean? All these books that are written. I think I saw one book the other day. It was called White Fragility, I think, or something like that. That is basically talking about basically that critical race theory. You know what I mean? And it's just like they say it in a way that doesn't sound like it should be degrading, and it doesn't sound like they're being a hater, because that's what they are. You know, it doesn't sound like it, but this what it is. You know what I mean? They use all of these linguistic acrobatics to be able to not make it sound like something that's absolutely terrible, because it is. And like, how do you expect black and brown people to want to achieve anything if they're told nonstop that they could never achieve it? Like, I myself was never taught this. Like, I grew up being told that I could do whatever the hell I wanted to do, as long as I tried hard enough. As long as I put that work in, and I like freaking grind it, like I can get whatever it is that I put my mind to, I can get it done. I can achieve it. And sadly, like a lot of my generation were not taught this. They were not taught that they can be victorious. They were not taught that they can be, a fighter. They were not taught that they are strong and willing. You know what I mean? They're not taught these things. I myself, I feel like I'm very blessed to be taught these things. But what they're taught in school is the opposite. You know what I mean? And that's what they are. They are haters. You know what I mean? The haters are the high school teachers that are teaching this, the university professors that are teaching this. Your peers, your friends, if you can even call them that believe in this, or even sometimes parents that believe in this. They're haters, and it's becoming more and more difficult to to see the haters, because like the the original like thing of a hater has like evolutionized, has like Pokemoned into something else. You know what I mean? It's not like what the original hater looks like. The hater now is like, you know, these linguistic acrobatics that are being fed to us to believe these incredibly degrading ideologies, these incredibly racist ideologies, and we don't even realize it. A lot of us don't even realize it. We just go, "Oh, man." And then you get angry. And you're just like, "Well, America's racist and we need to burn it to the ground." Well, I mean, yeah, like if it's just drilled into you and they say it in a way that doesn't sound like they're hating on you, you know what I mean? Of course people are going to believe it. It sounds nice, you know what I mean? But they like they sprinkle it on with like freaking confetti, or why am I like not thinking about what the word is right now? Sprinkles or whatever. They sprinkle it on, you know, to make it not sound as bad as it is. But it's super super terrible. It's like not good at all. Having that belief. And like and it's so sad, because like you, again, you are the pinnacle of survival, of evolution. You are a victor. You are a victor. You're not a victim, you are a victor. Whatever it is that you want to achieve in your life, you can do it. But you have to be able to recognize the haters. You have to be able to recognize that the people pushing all this ridiculousness, these high school teachers, these university professors, your friends, your peers, your parents, that they're haters. That is what they are. They're straight up just haters, man. And the proper response to a hater is watch me. A university professor comes up to you and tells you, you're never gonna get that job because of the color of your skin. You go, watch me. Your high school professor tells you, well, you're never gonna get that job because of your name. You say, "Watch me." That is the proper response. That is a proper response. Someone freaking tells you that you can't do something, you that should light a fire under you to be able to do it tenfold. Because everyone's telling that you can't. Everyone's telling you that you can't, and you can. That's the thing. Like you literally can. You literally can do whatever it is that you set your mind to. You just got to do it. You got to put in that grind time. You got to like put in that hard work. So I've been taught my whole life. It wasn't until I got into school, like into high school and leading into college that I was taught um the app taught that taught the oh my goodness, I'm sorry. The absolute opposite. You know what I mean? It was just and it was really confusing, you know what I mean? Because especially for when I was applying for college. When I was applying for college, they would give us these, these like, prompts that you would write essays for. And there was something about, systemic racism that we had to write about, and I was writing about it, and I was like trying to think about times that I've experienced genuine racism in my life, and I was just like stuck. Like I literally like I couldn't write the essay because I was like, well, I've never experienced anything like anything racist towards me. Like nothing's ever like my race has never been a factor in anything that I do. You know, I mean, being like a Hispanic man, like it was never something that stopped me from doing anything. Like I was like, well, I was at a loss, and I was like, oh well, I have to, So I started writing things and like trying to think about things, and it was extremely hard because like I myself have never experienced any like genuine racism towards me, and my race has never been a factor in anything that I do ever. You know what I mean? But we're taught that we are. We're taught that your race is definitely a factor in everything that you do, and it's so sad because I have so much faith in my generation for us to be able to change the culture that we live within. I think more of us need to be able to see that we are capable of great things, that we can do the things that we set our mind to, and it's just like it's kind of hard when you have university and high schools from when we're like small and our brains are still forming, feeding us this garbage, this garbaggio. You know what I mean? Telling us that we can't do this, can't do that. It's just like, man, like, it's really, really crazy to me. You know what I mean? And I find, I find a lot of it comes from, blaming the world. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of the thought comes from. Is just blaming the world. It's the world's fault. You know what I mean? It's everyone else's fault. It's not my fault that it's like this. It's like, well, it is. You know what I mean? Like, when you start to realize that the world is there's nothing wrong with the world. You're the problem. The problem is not the world, it's you. When you start realizing that, things start to change a little bit because then you have to come to the realization that, you know what I mean, you can't change the world. No matter how hard you try, you cannot change the world. What you can change though is yourself. You can change the things about yourself to make yourself better. You know what I mean? Because you can change your world. You can't change the world. You can change your world though. You know what I mean? You can work on yourself. You mean, but it's a lot easier said than done. You know what I mean? You have to really truly dig within yourself. You know, you have to dig within yourself to be able to see what it is that makes you uncomfortable, that makes you unhappy, that is causing that anxiety within you. You really, really like really gotta dig, man. And that's like that is not a fun process because that process is rigorous, it's long, and it's tough. You know what I mean? It's like, the that Shrek analogy of the onion. I think I haven't seen it in the movie in a while, so I'm not sure if this is accurate, but he was I think he was comparing people to onions or something, right? But basically, really, like you are an onion. You know what I mean? You have these layers about you. You know what I mean? That you can peel back and find things out about yourself. You know what I mean? You genuinely ask yourself these questions, like, why am I so anxious all the time? Excuse me. Why am I unhappy? You know what I mean? And when you ask yourself these questions, it's not like you're gonna find like that's not like the answers that you find are particularly ones that you want to find. You know what I mean? You might peel back your first layer and you're just like, oh, all right, that wasn't so bad. And then you pull back the second one, you're just like, all right, well, that's, I can change that about myself. And then you start peeling back more layers, you start getting more towards the middle. And then you start finding things out about yourself that you really, really just do not like. And it's, it's coming to be able to deal with those issues and actively fixing them that makes a difference in your world. You know what I mean? Because you can't change the world, you can change your world. Now, someone might say, what's the point of changing myself? You know what I mean? There's 8 billion people in the world. Sorry, well, imagine if 8 billion people all said the same thing. And for a majority of people, that's what they're saying. A majority of people are more willing to push and ignore the problems and anxieties of their life than dealing with them. Because it's so much easier just to ignore them. It's so much easier just to not have to worry about them. You know what I mean? But that results in a life that is like pretty garbage. You know what I mean? It results in a life that is just like you're super sad all the time, you're resentful, you're bitter. You know what I mean? And it's so opposite to think about. It's so opposite to think that, like the farther you get away from a fire, the less heat that you feel. You know what I mean? Right? The closer you get to a fire, the more heat you feel and eventually you get burned. Well, people will think the same thing. Well, if I just get away from my anxieties, if I just get away from the problems of my life as much as I can, then I just won't feel the heat. I said, well, this is like, no, like, it is not true. Like, it will come and snatch you up real quick. You know what I mean? And then you're going to be like 37 in a home by yourself, wondering what the heck went wrong. And it's just like, well, maybe because you never, worked on yourself. You know what I mean? And life is just so opposite. And, I feel like it truly is a game that you play backwards. You know, you go towards the fire, you go towards your anxieties, you go towards your adversity, and you get into that fire and you burn to a crisp, and then you you're reborn. You know what I mean? And you try your best, to stay on that path that is righteous. You know what I mean? Whatever it may be. But most people don't want to do that. Most people would rather run away from the fire and then later way down, midlife crisis is basically what it is. You know what I mean? That fire catches up to you and snatches you up and you don't know how to deal with it. But when you go towards that fire willingly, you know what I mean? You gain a confidence, you gain, an understanding about yourself, and you're able to more properly work on yourself and reach the goals that you want to reach and do the things that you want to do and be victorious. Don't just blame the world, because the world is not the problem. You're the problem. You are. But people don't want to think about those things. People don't want to accept that they're not perfect. You know what I mean? Like all our lives, we're told throughout school, like, you're the greatest, you're amazing. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with you. It's the world that's the issue. It's like, well, man, like, who lives within the world? We do. Like, who lives within the culture? We do. Who creates the culture? We do. If a majority of people are anxious and broken because they don't deal with their problems, what type of culture do you think will manifest? Not a very good one. You know what I mean? It's not a very good culture is going to be able to come about from that. But if a majority of people were to deal with their anxieties and deal with their problems and be able to actively try to fix them, maybe the culture would change. But again, it's just not easy. It's not fun. You know what I mean? That process of doing that is not fun, and it's a process that never ends. It's a process that you have to revisit all the time. You know what I mean? But like, I guess when you hold it off for a really long time, you know, I mean, you have to deal with all of those problems at the same time. But once you go through that process, you know what I mean, you only really got to deal with a few problems at a time rather than like a mountain. But that's what you got to do. You get to dive into the belly of the beast. You know what I mean? You go to the freaking the point all the way down. The core. You know what I mean? You get to the middle of your onion. You know what I mean? Like I was sitting like right there, or fetal position, fetal position right there, just like straight up, bro. Like crying my eyeballs out, and like like I would always see it in movies, like movie in the movies where they'd be like fetal position crying on the bathroom floor, you know. And I was always just like, what a lame, you know what I mean? But like, man, like it hits you hard, and it's not a fun process. You know, the fun part comes after. You know what I mean? When you either one, you accept them and you try your best to continuously fix them and get better from them, or two, you deny them and you get worse. You know what I mean? It's either one of the two options. It's like you either accept them and get better, or you don't accept them and you get worse. You know what I mean? Either you dive into the belly of the beast and you come back out a better person, or you die down there. You know what I mean? It sounds like super like not cool, but like it's the reality. You know what I mean? It's understanding that life is not fair. You know what I mean? I would always hear that when I was younger. You know, like older people, like usually when something you don't like happens to you, they would say, "Well, life's not fair." You know what I mean? And you kind of think about that, and you're just like, "Well, that's kind of like a cynical thing for grown people to say." You know what I mean? Because you know when you're younger, you don't really say that or really think about what that means. You know what I mean? And maybe not even a lot of grown people understand what that means. They're probably just saying it because you know they do want to be cynical, but without them realizing it, they're giving you an absolute truth, is that life is not fair. Some people are born with a lot of money. Some people are born in a better position than you. Some people are born in a worse position than you. But that's just, you know, the lottery of life. That is just how life is. You know what I mean? Like some people are well off and some people are not. It's just the way life is. You cannot create, you know, equality of outcome. It's just impossible. It cannot be done without invading everyone's privacy or killing millions of people. Just read history, man. You know, read the history of the Soviet Union. Read the history of Maoist China. It's insane. Because that's what it is. The pursuit of the equality of outcome is just impossible because people don't want to accept that life is not fair. That yes, you may have grown up, you know, in Compton or in Crenshaw or in, you know, whatever shitty part of New York that you come from, or whatever else state that you come from, or whatever, etc., etc. They're like, yeah, you might not be coming from a great place, but nothing is stopping you from being great. Nothing. You can achieve whatever you want in this life, so long as you try, so long as you freaking bust your ass, and you know find ways to get it done. You know what I mean? Don't cut yourself off before you've even started the race. You know what I mean? Don't like shoot yourself in the foot because that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like believing in all of these critical theory ideologies is that's what it is. They're stopping you from being great. You know what I mean? They're stopping you from achieving your highest capacity of what you can achieve. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and it's weird because you know, like people might say, like, well, you're Gen Z, you're, you know what I mean? Why are you preaching to Gen Z? Well, because a lot of us weren't told this. A lot of us were not taught these things. You know what I mean? And like, if you're never taught these things and you go to school and you start learning about these things, well, it's the ideology that you adopt. It's the ideology that you truly believe in. And it's just one that is just so garbage. It is so insanely garbage. You know, I'll tell you about this time. The time I got my dream job working for a radio station in Tennessee. So I needed a job because I was going to move into a house, and I needed some form of income revenue. So, and I didn't really want to work anywhere what didn't have to do with music because my major was audio engineering. So I didn't want to do anything that wasn't surrounded by music. So I went into the radio station. I went into the hiring office, and I you know gave her my application. Her name was Katie, so I gave Katie my application, and you know we just chatted for a little bit. She was like, you know what, we don't really have people, like we're not looking for anyone to hire right now, and but we'll keep your application at hand when we are hiring. I mean, the typical you know hiring manager that tells you the typical thing. And what I did, what other people don't do, is like, when they put all these applications in, you know what I mean? They might put in like 50 applications, and then they just get their phone, they just lay it on their desk, and they're just like, all right, I'm just gonna wait here and just, wait for the call to come in, so they can hire me. You know what I mean? Because they want me. It's just like, no, they don't need you. They don't care about you. You know what I mean? Like, again, something that I feel like my generation really needs to learn is like, people don't care about you. Like, you got yourself. You know what I mean? You have to be able to convince people to give you a job. People are not going to look at you and be like, "Yeah. Yeah." Like, no. Like, you're like, you know how many other people come in and do the same thing? Like, they're not going to be just going to just pick you for no reason. You know what I mean? So the next day I went in, and I was like, hey Katie, what's up? I was like just kind of chatted up with her, you know what I mean? And I was like, and she was like, yeah, I like, thank you for, following up and stuff, but again, we're not looking for people to hire and stuff. And I was like, all right, well, third day comes around, I come back in and I'm like, what's up, Katie? And then by this time she knows my name, what I mean? She knows who I am. So she goes, oh, no, hey, Ethan, how you doing? Whatever. And I was like, you know what? So like, I was like, can I help? Like, do you got something like I can do? You know what I mean? Like, you don't even got to pay me. Like, I'll help you guys. You know what I mean? And she was like, nah, like, we can't really do that. It's like legally, like, we can't have you like do anything or like work here without being on the payroll. And I was like, man, I was like, all right, well, that's cool, I guess. Next day comes in, and or the fourth day, you know what I mean, I go in and kind of chat it up with her, you know what I mean. I don't even bring up doing anything. I just say hi to her and whatnot, kind of talk to her for a little bit. I go back in for like 3 weeks. I go back in there every day, and I make sure they know who I am. I make sure that they know what my major is. I make sure that they know why I want to be there, my experience in music. Like, I make them know who I am. And like, after all of that time, you know what I mean? Like, and after a while, like, it was like, it was just like, man, like my doubts were coming in. I was like, maybe I'm bugging her too much. Like, maybe I should just not even like do this anymore. But like, I chose to anyway. I went in there, and then when 3 weeks later, she looks at me and she goes, I go in, I say, "What's up, Katie?" Da 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 da. And, by this time she's expecting me already, and then she goes, "You really want to work here, huh?" And I look at her and I'm like, "Yes, like I really want to work here." I mean, she's like, "All right, well, let's get your paperwork started." And then, that following week, I started work there, and I got my dream job as working as an assistant music curator for a radio station, working with a woman who was 71 years old, purple hair. Her name was Jessie. Like, it was the funnest job. Like, I got paid for listening to music and like, categorizing music and like just going through nothing but music. And it was the funnest job that I've ever had in my life. It was the funnest job that I've ever had in my life. And previous to, that last week, I went into a Domino's. You know what I mean? I went into a Domino's and I applied for an application, and almost immediately they were ready to hire me. Like almost like I want to say like a day went by and they were like, hey, you know what I mean? Like just come in and we can, start work and stuff. And I was like, really debating whether or not to just go work for Domino's and then, and, just maybe try, the radio station another time, but I didn't. I didn't go to Domino's and I kept at it and I got the job that I wanted to get. And that's just what a lot of my generation lacks. Being able to show face, being able to go in there and make sure that they know who you are. Because if they don't know who you are, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. You mean you have to make them that the people that you want to work for, whatever job it may be able to have them want you there. You know what I mean? But that's just something that, again, I feel like something our generation lacks, like my generation lacks, is understanding that you have to put work into whatever it is. Life is not fair. You know what I mean? But you got to put that work in. You know what I mean? But that, like, just relentless persistence is how I got that job. Just relentless persistence is how I was able to be able to work in something that I never thought I would have been ever to be able to work. You know what I mean? Work, get paid to like listen to music, man. That was not even something that I would have thought about. But there I was, because I tried really hard because I really really wanted it. You know what I mean? But that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Being able to better yourself so that you can better your surroundings. You know what I mean? So you can better yourself in your job, better yourself in, whatever career that you go into, in your relationship. That's all of these things matter. You know what I mean? Just to blame the world is not the answer. It's like it's not going to help you in any way. Because if you just blame the world, what's that going to do? I mean, you just get bitter, you get resentful, you get angry, you get mad. It's not going to help you in any way other than tearing down a country. You know what I mean? Don't let the haters get the best of you because, again, that's what they are. They're just haters, man. And it's just getting tougher and tougher to differentiate, haters from the non-haters. Because now the haters sound like they're not hating on you, they're just telling you why you're not successful rather than telling you, "Hey, maybe you're not doing what you want to do in your life because you're not really putting in that work. Because you're not you know, accepting the realities of life. You're running away from them." It's just I see it all too often in people in my generation. They're so willing to blame everybody else and to believe things that are just so untrue. So untrue. You know what I mean? Because I think a great example of that is the fact that the number one most successful immigrant group in America are Nigerians. They're the most successful immigrant group, far none. You know what I mean? And I can say the same thing about my parents. They are both from, the Hispanic heritage, and they were able to create their own company. Something that like they told, countless people told them that was impossible. They told them that you can't do that. You know what I mean? They told them that, that's like white people stuff. White people stuff. But my parents were like, "Nah, you know what? Screw you. We're gonna go do this anyway." And it is paid off significantly. And they come from extremely, extremely undesirable beginnings. Like something that I would not wish upon my worst enemy. Like it's crazy. Like you forget that your parents had a whole life before you were born. You know what I mean? And they tell me the things that they've gone through. They tell me the things that they've seen, and I'm just like, what in the hell are you talking about? You did that? Like you went through that? Like that's insane. But you don't think about those things ever. You know what I mean? Because everyone told them that they can't, and they did. And that's what you have to do. You have to be able to really critically think about what people are telling you, what these professors are telling you, critically think about it, and not just accept it, question it. You need to question everything. You know what I mean? This is how you find things out. You question everything. Because if you just accept it for what it is, you're never truly gonna understand it. You just go, yeah, okay. You need to question it. Someone tells you that you can't get a job because of the color of your skin or where you come from or how you sound. Why? Well, why? Why can't I own a business? Like, why can't I get that car? Like, why can't I have this house? Why? And once you start asking those questions, you open up a whole different world. You open up a world of possibilities. You're the most important tool that you have is your imagination right here. Your imagination is the most important tool that you have. It's the strongest tool that you have. But we're taught to stop using our imagination at a very young age. I want to say maybe fucking third grade or something. We're taught to like not use our imaginations anymore, but you have to, be in the real world. But the imagination is the strongest tool. It's what's created everything. It's what created this thing. You know what I mean? It's what created this mic that I'm using. Your mind, your imagination. If you can imagine yourself better tomorrow, then you can achieve that. Because if you cannot use your imagination, if you cannot think, good luck trying to do anything. Good luck, because you're not going to get very far. Trust me. You're just not. You're not going to get far. Because you have to use your imagination. It is the strongest tool that you can use. Your thoughts are the strongest tool that you can use. Because that's how you progress yourself. You imagine who you can be, and you get there. Don't let these people tell you that you can't. It's so infuriating to me because they've truly have taught an entire generation to not only hate themselves, but hate the country that they come from, hate the foundations that this country is built on. And it's so sad because like what comes when no one believes in the foundations of a country? You know what I mean? What would happen to a building if you took out the foundation? You know what I mean? You got a 3-story house, 4-story house, you know what I mean? Even a hotel. If you were to take off the foundation of that building, what do you think is going to happen? It's not going to stand for very long. It might come crashing down immediately. You know what I mean? And it's saddening because we are so capable. Like I believe in our generation so much. Like I truly truly do believe that like Generation Z can absolutely change the culture. It can change We can change everything. I really do believe this because like, just talking from experience, like talking to a lot of people that are in my generation, it's just like it's either one, they are completely convinced by critical theory, or they're not. But the not is very very few. You know what I mean? But still, even though that is something that I've noticed is I also feel like some of us are more willing to listen. You know what I mean? And that's all it takes is just listening and thinking about those things because again, dude, I really really believe that like we can change the culture. You know what I mean? Because if we can change ourselves, you know what I mean, you change your world, and in turn you can change the world. You know what I mean? Because you alone cannot change the world. Collectively, most definitely can change the world. But that first begins with changing yourself. And recognizing your haters and recognizing all of these issues that, underline a lot of the beliefs that people hold right now. You know, so crazy. Like my dad always told me this. He said, don't reach for the clouds, don't reach for the moon, Don't reach for the stars. Don't even reach for the next planet. Reach for that next galaxy. Reach for that next universe, because if you don't catch that universe, you might catch a galaxy. If you don't catch a galaxy, you might catch one of the planets. And if all the planets slip through your hands, maybe you can catch a star. If you don't catch the star, maybe you can land on the moon. And if you fall off the moon, maybe you can land on the cloud and build from there. You know what I mean? Our expectations of ourselves and what we can achieve are so low, are so extremely low. And it's so sad because they shouldn't be that low. You should be aiming, like, this whole thing, like, 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 I guess statistically, the the probability of someone becoming a professional NBA player is like very small, right? It's like, okay, great. The percentage is small, but not everyone wants to be an NBA player. You know what I mean? You can achieve the greatest in your life if you try hard enough. Like, if you really truly tried hard enough, I'm sure you can become an NBA player, but you would have to dedicate your life to that. Like, every waking moment would have to be on that thing, and you would have a pretty good shot at becoming a professional NBA player. You know what I mean? But most people, again, don't want to be that NBA player. You can achieve whatever it is in your life that you want to achieve. You just got to put in the grind time. You have to work to get to that position. And it's just so disheartening to see, excuse me, so many people not believe in that, not believe in yourself, and not believe in what you're capable of. And it's like, I truly do believe that, critical theory and the belief in white privilege is an absolute cancer. It is an absolute cancer. It's not good. It's not good for you. It's not good for anyone else. It's just not. You know what I mean? It's built, the ideas of white privilege, the ideas of critical theory are built on hatred. They're built on things that are just not good at all. You know what I mean? And it's just so surprising that more people don't realize that, and people don't see that, because it's just so detrimental to this generation. And I really believe that we can change it. I really, really do believe that we can change it. But going back to what my dad was telling me, our expectations of ourselves are so low. The expectations of yourself should be extraordinarily high, because if you don't achieve the highest point of what you wanted to achieve, you might get to the middle and work from there. You might get even towards the bottom, or even land flat on your ass. But you can still build up from that. You can continue to build up for that, because life is not fair. You know what I mean? You're not one of Kanye's kids, and we're blessed with a lot of money and like a golden career ahead of you. It's like not the case. Some of us were born in SoCal. Some of us were born in like Wyoming. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna be given all this and that. You know what I mean? You gotta try for it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Trying your best to do whatever it is that you want to do in your life. And that's why I don't believe in my privilege, and that's why I don't believe in critical theory, because it's so cancerous. It's so degrading. And once you can realize how degrading it really is, and once you realize just like how bad it is, like, you can then start changing yourself. You can start changing your ideologies, because this is why I feel a lot of people don't want to accept it, or don't even want to think about it, is because they play this game of identity politics, and then they build their life around this belief. Every aspect of their life they build around it, and then someone comes along and kind of shakes their foundation, and they don't know how to deal with it, because they start to realize that everything they believed in was super racist, was super degrading, that was super detrimental to their own mental health and even their physical health, and they don't know how to handle it, because you rock their world, and now their world is in a state of chaos. You know, but it's being able to come back from that chaos, being able to, you know, figure out how you can navigate that chaos. You know what I mean? Because I used to really, I used to truly believe in white privilege. I used to truly believe that, you know, like America was the you know, built on white supremacy and all of this and all of that. Like I did, like, because like for a while, you know what I mean, like I was taught to be all of these things, you know what I mean, but when you're in school, you know what I mean, I was taught to be, you know, to be able to do what it is that you want to do in your life and work hard and do this and do that. But while you're in school, this is what's just rammed into you. It's just like drilled into you, you know what I mean? Like they make sure that you understand that you are a victim, not a victor. When you are a victor, you know what I mean? And then I started thinking. And then I started reading. You know, I started reading um just a bunch of different books, you know what I mean? And listening to a lot of different speakers and stuff. And, you know, everyone's journey starts different, you know what I mean? I started with listening to the Jordan Peterson lectures on regarding to the Soviet Union and communism. You know what I mean? And really like learning about that and doing research about it and like kind of just like, whoa, what is that? You know, kind of going down this rabbit hole that led to a bunch of other things, you know. But that is why I don't believe in my privilege. I I will never believe in it because of everything I've just said. And I don't think you should either because it's just garbage. It's so garbage, you know. But I will leave you with a poem by Robert Frost because I really like Robert Frost. I had a in high school I had a teacher or a poetry teacher, and he was really cool because he wasn't the, you know, the type to you know, be, I don't know, he wasn't like one of the teachers that were pushing critical theory. He was definitely pushing the like individual responsibility of yourself, which I thought was really cool. So this is The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I really like that poem, you know, because I feel like it symbolizes, really captures a lot of my generation right now. And go down the path that is worn and you know, is more safe because everyone's gone down it, or you can go down the other one that is unexplored, that is, you know, adventure. You might not be liked because of it, because you might be thinking differently than everyone else, but it's a funner ride for sure. So hope you guys liked this. Um, just my thoughts on white privilege and why I don't believe in it. And I hope you really do, whoever listens to this, really listen to the words that are being told to you. And you think very critically about the things that people tell you. And think for yourself. Don't let anyone else think for you. You come up with your decisions and you come up with your thoughts and your own ideology, because you shouldn't let anyone else determine your success other than yourself. You shouldn't let anyone tell you that you can't, because you can. Because you are not a victim. You are a victor. Remember that. So, see you next time. Peace.